So I want to discuss something that I find pretty disturbing, and that's the disownment of the society that reflects us. I know so many people who say, I happen to trust this dictator, this autocrat, this horrific person over my own leaders here in the West. And I find that just disgusting in the sense that one of them tangentially has your interests in mind. The others outright say they want you dead. They want you gone. They threaten to wipe us off the face of the map. Now, when they do, they're just trying to scare me and you, not the politicians, because they know for a fact that no one's going to use nukes. But something that I hear is, Russia's doing this so much better than us. China's doing that so much better than us. I'm disgusted with my country, this, and that. When if these people actually grew up and lived in these countries that they want to sell their neighbors and siblings out to and their family, they'd be disgusted with the sheer amount of ingratitude, gluttony, and lack of awareness that it takes to be so ignorant to how lucky that we are, anyone is, who was born here, right? Like, that's why tens upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of people die just trying to get here all the time, just trying to get the chances that we were born with. They escape from Russia, they escape from China, they escape from Iran, they escape from these places to get here. And a lot of people who've never even experienced 1/5 of that struggle have the gall to say they have it better than us. When they're starving to death, being sent to the front line to get slaughtered for protesting, they have it better than us. If you had any idea of the truth behind what goes on in these countries, I think you'd truly be mortified, knowing that you were so willing to disown your family, your neighbors, and your country for somebody who wants us all dead. Is that how little that everybody means to you? And I don't mean this personally to anybody, but I just want people to know the severity a lack of understanding of the situation can have and the distortion that it does. I have empathy for it, but I downright consider that sort of verbiage and that action, those beliefs, traitorous. Because when shit hits the fan, or when stuff hits the fan, I want to know that you have my back. I want to know that I have your back, and I do. But if I think, and if everybody else thinks, that their neighbors are going to sell them out to the enemy, or that their neighbors are the enemy already, that's a house of cards that's so fragile that no future could stand on. And I know that it's really easy to be disheartened by the way that the world is right now. I am ultimately very proud and optimistic about humanity and its future. And I know that the next 10 years is going to be brutal, but the next 100 years after that will probably be better than anything we've ever known. Fingers crossed. But when it comes down to it, we need every single piece of the armor. We need every single American, whether you got here yesterday or you were born here and your family's here from 600 years ago. We are at war in the sense of other people are at war with us right now. We just pretend that they're not. We just pretend that the attack on Ukraine isn't directly an attack on us and everything that we've built and striven for. Since the end of World War II, America didn't become the preeminent superpower because it ignored the world's problems and it ignored its own problems. It didn't become the most powerful country on the planet because its citizens hated each other and hated the government. It didn't become the world's most powerful country by ignoring the pleas for help and being silent on these issues. And the fact that none of us can find the reasons to be proud of our country or what makes it different or better, failing of our government for sure, a lack of civic awareness for sure, but the biggest thing is believing what these other countries say. This is damning evidence as to why you should not idolize these countries like it. You assume, because of how our government is, that you can take them at their word. You assume that when other countries talk about their issues, they're being as honest as we are. The only reason why the world thinks that America is so messed up is we air out all of our dirty laundry, everything out into the public. You look at Canada, you look at France, especially look at Russia and China. Only thing that gets out, for the most part, is what's approved. Even in our allies countries, they cannot do hardly anything that we can here. They have it on paper that they have the same rights and freedom as we do. They don't. And everybody thinks that these nations are a trillion times better and that America is the most racist place on the planet, when you don't realize that if you're Italian in France, you're probably going to face way more discrimination than if you were anything in the United States. And it's just, when the times get rough, which is where they're going right now, I think that the awareness of what we're fighting for is so necessary, and the awareness of why we're fighting against what we're fighting against. If you go protest and because you don't agree with the war, you get sent to the front line to go die, they only send you with a grenade, they only send the ethnic minorities to go fight in the war, committing a genocide on two fronts, erasing one group of people entirely, and then continuing the erasure of all of the conquested colonial parts of the Russian Empire. Russia's the only place that has not decolonized yet. And I gotta say, if you knew the depths of the atrocities committed by these countries, I'll just say, you protest in China, you get kept as a organ bank. You know, they will make you not function up here, keep you alive so that you can be donated to any of the highest CCP officials. There's a reason why you can go to China and have 5 heart transplants till you find one that works. And these are all irrefutable facts that have documented evidence and proof. Look up what happened to the Falun Gong practitioners. Look at what's happening in Eastern China, East Turkestan, right? With what's happening to the Uyghurs. You know, they can't even get anything out. All the people there can do is just hold up pictures of their family and show who's left. And it's usually just the women and the girls. And then they send a Han Chinese brother or sister into the homes and try to sinicize them, get rid of them. You know, they don't want these people. They hardly even want their own people. They just want a population that they can whip up into a frenzy to enact their political agendas with. So when you're a Tartar, or you're from the furthest north regions of Russia, you live in the taiga, you live in these areas where you're not a Ruski, they send you to the front line first. Look at the per capita deaths based on the oblasts of Russia. St. Petersburg and Moscow, hardly anybody. You look at the cheapest and most ethnically non-Russian areas, that's where the majority of the bodies are coming from. And, you know, at least with America, a lot of the times we lead from the front. At least with America, a lot of the times, people want to go fight and they're motivated for it. Whether we're going to fight for the right thing all the time is another discussion. But I live in a country where I can say what I want and I can believe what I want, and I don't have to do things for the most part that I don't want. And people say, well, we don't have freedom in America. I gotta pay taxes, I gotta live in a home, I gotta buy a job. You have the ability to choose your home. You have the ability to choose your job. You have the ability to choose where you live. You have the ability to choose. That is something that most countries don't have. And if they do have it, it's not nearly to the same degree that we do. There was a Soviet defector who brought up the fact that the goal of the influences that they put in is to not convince you of something specific to believe, but just cloud the airspace with so much that you just don't know what to believe. You just give up. And you lose the ability to discern what makes your country better and what's worth fighting for. And this is from a Soviet defector for sure. And it was from, I think, roughly 1984. And he said, and this always stuck with me, if the US falls, there's nowhere else left to defect to. Nowhere else. And you look, 40 years later, he predicted it to a T. Nobody knows what makes America different. Nobody knows what we have that other countries don't. Nobody knows why they should believe in this place. Nobody knows what to believe about this place. And everybody's suspicious of each other. Nobody trusts anything. And if you take somebody and you say, that is up and this is down, they're like, I'm gonna need to check my own facts first. And back in the day, everybody had different opinions. Today we have different facts. And